What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Motor Mouse Garage. Today, what we're going to be working on, so back to the 80 series now. I don't know if the BMW video came out yet, but we're working back with the 80 series, and what we're going to install today, a couple things. First and foremost, well, actually, overall, we're going to be installing this. So I got this almost as soon as I got the 80 series, but I just have not had time to install it yet because I wasn't sure where I wanted that compressor to live, but I finally decided on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to install it with SLE's battery relocation or dual battery kit. So the washer bottle gets relocated with these parts over here, and then I have room for an extra battery if I plan to go that route. I still don't know. At the very least, I use it as like storage, so you can store fuel, not fuel, but fluids, tools, and stuff like that in there. And I think it would just be more useful than what's there currently. Maybe eventually I'll do batteries. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do it or not. I'm trying to keep this rig kind of light. I know it's not going to be light after I put like a swing out bumper and stuff on it, but I'm trying to keep it relatively lightweight because it does really well off-road. If I do end up going batteries, I think I might do lithium. I know that involves like quite a bit, and it's not really going to be like a true dual battery system. I don't actually know if it can jump your regular starting battery. I do know you need like a DC to DC inverter or converter or something like that. I know a little bit about it. I got to do more research on it, but I kind of want to go lithium because the batteries are way lighter. They last a lot longer. They are a lot more expensive, so that's the downside. But I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to get this dual battery kit installed from SLE. So we're going to get to work here in a second. But basically, this is going to move back here, and this is just going to be off to the side. And this battery kit also holds the compressor, which is the whole reason why I decided to use that. So I get a little bit more utility out of this until I decide to put a second battery in, whether or not I decide to do that. But that's enough talking. Let's get started. All right, so I already know this coolant reservoir is going to get relocated, so I can set this off to the side, and it's almost time to refill it. But we're going to remove all the electrical connectors, unbolt everything, and it'll be pretty good. Alright, so once I'm ready, I'm going to remove that hose from this guy, and then, but I'm going to get everything like mounted, like the brackets and everything. I also have to read the instructions because I didn't. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, so give me a second. Let me situate myself. Okay, so washer bottle relocation kit pretty much comes with two brackets and some hardware. I painted these. These came raw steel. I painted them just so they don't rust, or just so they look a little bit better, in my opinion. This is not a required step. I just did it. So we're gonna need a couple bolts here, some washers, and lock washers. So we're going to start with this little L-shaped bracket, and this gets installed to the washer bottle itself. Which actually is a little bit off. Interesting. I wonder if this is an OE or an aftermarket washer bottle. These holes are just a tad off. Alright, let me... Oh, unless it goes like so. No, I don't think so. Oh, it does. Yes. Okay. So, this end, the bent end, goes on this side of the washer bottle. I just need to figure out... I think it goes like this. So it should face the inside. I gotta look at pictures again. This is my life, just going back and forth. So the instructions are pretty good, but I wish they included some pictures. Some more pictures actually. Okay, so this actually goes, let's see. It might go like this, potentially, and wrap around. Gotta visualize it. Got it now. It's gonna go, this part is gonna sit on the washer bottle itself like this. So, I don't know if you can see that. Let me adjust this camera. Boop. Essentially, gonna go like this right here. And I've got my hardware. I'm gonna do the bottom one first because the top one requires a little bit longer of a bolt. I'm just gonna tighten this down by hand right now. Leave it kind of loose. And then they give you a slightly longer bolt. This bottle wants to do everything but go where I want it to. And so the spacer is just gonna go at the top portion because obviously there's some space that needs to be taken up. Right there. Let me put this washer on the bolt first. It's gonna go through. We're gonna get a big washer, a lock washer, and a nut for this side. So big washer first, then lock washer, then nut on the back side. So that is the first leg right there. And then we got to get this other bracket, which is right here. So this side, I believe, is probably going to go like this. Let me check my notes. Yes it is. So gonna go out like that, and then flat washer, lock washer, and then nut on this side. And now we need to take the cruise control module off, which is this thing right here, this little triangle thing. There are two bolts up here that hold it in. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then I think now it will almost be time to remove this hose. So I gotta find something to plug this hose on the washer bottle. Boop, boop. Because if not, this is just gonna spray everywhere. It's gonna leak out. So see if I can find something to plug that. I think I have something. I think that'll do. I just used a cut-off glove and a zip tie just to keep fluid in there. So you guys are not on camera. Let me adjust you right here. I'm gonna back you up a little bit. But essentially this goes behind the cruise control module, this little horizontal bracket we've got going on here. Alright, kind of in there right now. The only thing that needs to come off now is there's a back bolt for the air cleaner, and we're going to take that off. We're going to remove all of them. There we go. Maybe. I don't think that goes underneath it though. Let's see. It doesn't. It goes on top of it. But I feel like that doesn't fit right. Sorry guys. I know you can't see much. Let me get you in here a little bit. Okay. It's probably a little bit better. And hopefully the camera can stand itself up. So this bracket over here that I'm fighting with actually goes on top, like so. But this back one down here, oh, okay, all right. So it's a little bit of a tight fit, I'm not gonna lie to you. Pretty much right there, like that. Now I need to fish out the little spacers that I lost for the cruise control module, and I'm not going to put you through that pain, so hold on. Okay, more or less I got us in place. Got this bolt in, these bolts are started. So yeah, it kind of sits a little bit of an angle. I think I'm going to angle it up when I tighten these, and we should be okay there. But we're in there. So I just put it on top of the like grommets for both the battery and the cruise control module. Or not the battery, sorry, the airbox and the cruise control module. Just because that's the way it fit best, I think. So we're just gonna run with it. I think that's good because we gotta remember, I don't want it up here, like angled up, because I am at an angle right now, or the vehicle is at an angle. So, run that home. I lost one of my little washers or grommets. Okay, so those are tight. Now, we've got to tighten the actual bolts, nuts and bolts here, which are both 10s, and which I'll probably get to with a wrench. I'm gonna have to work harder for this bottom one, I think. Literally doing this blind. 1 second. Okay, and there's the installation. As far as the bottle goes, now we need to reroute this hose to the back. We can probably shorten it by quite a bit, which is good. Let me fish this through. Okay, so this is coming from way over here, which is great. So yeah, we can basically shorten this. Let me go around the front side to kind of look. Oh yeah, we can shorten that by a lot. Let me get my cutters. All right, let me feel. Okay, so I think we can get away with cutting a majority of this off. I'd say about here. That gives us a lot of room. Like that. And then, of course, we have to cut off the zip tie, which honestly I'm just putting that hose back on, so I'm just going to do because you guys are in my way a little bit. Or I can place you here so you can watch me struggle with it. How's that? That works. Alright, got it cut off. There we go. Route it behind all of this. It was not in all the way. Oh man, this thing's tall. And I don't even have big tires on this thing yet. It's gonna get wild. Okay. I'm going to put all these airbox bolts back in that I didn't have to take off. what I did anyway. We've got the hose shortened, the washer bottle installed. So now we need to lengthen the harness because the harness is very tiny, or short, I should say. So there's this factory, what used to be like shielding on it. So Sleek gives you some new stuff, some corrugated tubing. I also have some extra, but we're gonna cut all this off because it's all literally like, this is supposed to be pliable and it just like cracks. So we're gonna go ahead and cut all this off. Might as well. So we've got that cleaned up a little bit. SLE gives you some extra wire so you can make this electrical connector reach all the way back here. So essentially, I'm going to use some of my heat shrink butt connectors. So I'm going to cut this pretty much right in the middle. And I'm going to use my own heat shrink, the solder stick that I think I've showed you guys in the past. If not, I'll show it to you again. When we installed the fan, I'm pretty sure that's when I showed it to you. I don't know if that video's came out yet, but it's alright. Yeah, so let me get that set up. I'm gonna go eat first, but for you it's gonna be pretty much right away. So what I am gonna do now is I'm just gonna cut this right in the middle ish, and then we are going to use these little things from Solder Stick. Like I said, I think I showed you those before, but we're going to do one side and then the other. So I'm just going to go ahead and strip these like you would normally. So one wire is blue, the other one is blue with a black stripe, and SLE gives you blue and black wire. So I'm going to connect these. So black is obviously going to go to the black wire, or blue and black wire. Oh, but I need this before. Let me bring you over here. I'm going to work right here. And I like to thread these on before, not thread them on, but get these seated before. And then I like to do what is called a lineman splice, which I have to always remind myself how to do, but I'll show you guys that here in a second. So lineman splice, I'll show you this on one and then I'll go ahead and do the rest. But essentially what you want to do is you want to twist these strands together like so. I might have to strip a little bit more, so go ahead and strip a little bit more insulation off than you normally would, preferably before you twist it together, but if not, no big deal. So you need quite a bit, right? So here's, I don't really have anything for reference, but twist that together, and then we'll come over to the other side and we will do the same. Get them as tight as you can, and then we're going to do like a 90-degree bend like that in both. Like so. And then we're going to put these together like so, and we're going to wrap one side. Again, that's why I always tell you to like get a little bit more than you normally would, because you kind of need a lot to do this. So I'm even going to strip even more so we can get this a little bit better. The more wraps you have around it, which I'll show you after I'm done here, the easier it's going to be to do this and the stronger it's going to be. You know, a lot of people say you can do this without even soldering it. I'm not going to do that, but I definitely could see how it can make it pretty strong. Okay. Also, it helps before you twist it to splice it to the correct length. I always do this, like every time I do a lineman splice, I always end up not doing enough at first. Okay. And obviously the thicker the gauge of the wire, the more difficult this is going to be to twist around. Okay. Looking a little bit better. I'm going to bend our little 90 right here. So normally this is done with like solid copper wire, but if you twist it, it's kind of like solid copper wire. Like there. About halfway on here. And then we're going to hook these together. We're going to wrap around one side, like so. And then wrap around this other side, like so. And ideally you want it to wrap around a number of times, but this will essentially get you to where you need to be, and it'll look something like this. Excuse the camera focus. And then you can really tug on this and it's not going to go anywhere. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that this would probably stay together if I threw some insulation over it, but hopefully we're going to use this. Get this right in the middle here. Right? And then we're going to melt this with a lighter. You should do it with a heat gun. I don't have one yet, so I'm going to do it with a lighter. And then go ahead and hold it out here. Of course, you don't need like a butane lighter or anything. Matter of fact, I'm probably not going to use this. I'm going to get a regular lighter. So I'll be right back. Normal lighter. I prefer the butane because it's a lot faster. Watch this be out too, guys. So typically I like to melt the solder first. So eventually you will see the solder melt into the wire like so, and then we can go over here and melt the waterproofing side on both sides. It's a little windy today, so well, there we go. So the solder, I don't know if you guys can see that, but the solder did melt all the way to the edge over here. So it's not like a normal solder connection, but because I lineman splice these, I'm not super worried about it. I'm going to do the same, hopefully, to the other side. So I understand, like, you can't do a lineman splice in every single scenario, especially when it comes to automotive stuff, but I like to do it where I can, just because it gives me that extra peace of mind. Like, granted, this is only like a washer fluid, like, bottle, right? Or washer fluid motor, so not really that detrimental. But, yeah. I still like to use it. I really need to buy a heat gun. If you're a company that makes a heat gun that you're trying to sell people, and it's good. I will gladly take your sponsorship because I've been needing a heat gun for a very long time. Okay, so basically I'm just going to do that to all the other ones on both sides. I don't think you need to sit here and watch me do it because it's the same process for every time. But there you go, lineman splice, and I'll be back when I finish this. All right, guys, so I've got the new wire routed underneath the airbox around here. To this side, I have it zip tied to the washer bottle, and then we are plugged in over there. And I think we're pretty good for that. So, with that done and out of the way, we can actually install the compressor and, of course, the trays I've got over here. So, let me read those instructions because I didn't read them. And then I'll kind of walk you through it a little bit. First thing we got to do, we got to remove we already removed the coolant reservoir, but we have to remove the bracket for the coolant reservoir. And that's just two 10mm nuts right here at the top. Like so. Oh, and there might be a 10 or 12 on the inside. Let's see. Save this for later, because we're going to reuse it. Next, we're going to get this piece right here, this little U piece, and we're going to place it over here. I guess I can bring you guys over now, where we're going to be working. So essentially we're going to place it right here. And we're going to use the supplied hardware for that. I just need to make sure, double check the direction. So this is what we got as far as hardware goes. So I imagine it's probably one of these guys. I'm going to assume one of these long ones. We'll go ahead and slice the corner of this bag open like that. Fish one of these out of here. Let's see. So you should probably clean out some of these holes here. I would assume you'd want to do that. I'm not going to, but I recommend that you do that. I wonder if there's a bolt stuck in there. There might be. Or this is the wrong size bolt. Both are entirely possible. Yeah, I think it's the wrong size bolt. 1 second. Let me clean up my workspace a little bit. I'm gonna put all this stuff away down here. Alright, so I got my workspace cleaned up and I got this little bracket in. So I did end up cleaning up these holes a little bit. Just sprayed some of this stuff, AMSOIL MP. If you want, link to AMSOIL products are in my description. If not, disregard. So now we need to put the tray in here, and it is going to go something like so in here. Move this AC line out of the way. Might be a little bit of a tight fit for yours too if there's some questionable things going on with your body lines, right? So I think these all use pretty much the same bolts here. So there's bolts that go on each side, and we just got to get them somewhat lined up here. So all these bolts need to be tightened. I'm gonna go with this guy first. Probably gonna tighten the first bolt we put on last, just because in case anything has to shift, I want to make sure it can do that. You're probably wondering what's on my ratchet, if you can see that, and it would be some old coolant that is on there. And that's good. Tighten up this guy. There we go. Recheck these. Good. We're good there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to reconnect these headlight wash or headlight harnesses behind the actual tray so they stay out of the way. Yep, there's one. Let's shoot for number 2. This will make them difficult to service, but it'll give us more room when it comes to battery stuff. And this guy, I'm just gonna drive on home. There we go. Got the bottom tray firmly installed. This guy, like so. And I believe it goes like this. Yes. Yes, yes. Right here, and then up there. Perfect. I'll loosely install this bolt over here. Loosely get this one in here. And there's 2 more that go back here. We've got one here. And another over here. Alright, and then we can tighten these down. I need another wrench. I'm going to start with these guys right here, just to bring everything close together. Just going to drive this bad boy on home. You're probably asking why I'm doing this with hand tools. Mainly because I don't want to mess up any of these threads in the body, and I don't really know the condition of them. I just know they're very dirty. So I think we're pretty solid here. I'm going to move this out of the way now, and next is going to be the bracket where we keep our not the coolant reservoir, but the manifold assembly bracket. And this is going to go pretty much just like this. So I'm not gonna lie, this is a really well put together little kit here. If you're looking to mount a compressor and a dual battery roughly in the same place, so far I really like it. The reason why is because even though I know this Land Cruiser doesn't have like the best body ever, it's definitely been in an accident before, it still lines up pretty good. So basically, this is not surprising for SLE. They know these cars well enough to where they need to elongate some of the bolt holes, which is great, and where they don't need to do it. So that's pretty awesome. Good job, SLE. Very happy with this so far. So this is the direction this is going to go in, and we're going to use our 2 supplied nuts like so. And like so. I actually give you nuts for these. That's cool. And then we need, I think, an M6 bolt, right? Yes. M6 by 16. So the longer ones, flange bolt. it's going to go there. And then another flange nut on this side. And I'm going to tighten all of these down. Boom. Now we need to figure out where this goes. What we need to do now is we're going to release this connector behind here from its spot, and then we're going to zip tie it to the leg of the little washer, or the, what's it called, air intake, filter box, filter cylinder. Right around this leg really quick. There we go. Done. And now I'm assuming this guy probably goes right here. That looks legit. Let's find out. Dude, I'm so glad I painted these. This is like, it's gonna look so good. Next steps, which I don't have everything for this yet. I don't actually have my air chuck. But we need to rotate this line 90 degrees from its current position, which might take a little bit of effort. So again, another instance where I would typically need a vise, but I'm gonna try to use some pliers and gently rotate this sucker. Okay guys, this is kind of important. So after some trial and error, I have these like pipe pliers essentially. These are definitely my favorite pliers ever. But so you see how this orientation is like facing you, and this one's facing the side. So this is the orientation you need them in. Previously these were facing both towards the camera, right, the same way. So what I did is I got my pipe pliers. You're gonna need some kind of like pliers meant for like rounded objects. So like, you know, some pipe pliers, a vise would also help. And then I took a 14 mil socket on a really long extension, and essentially I just put it over the fitting for the airline, and I was able to basically, so previously we were up here, so I was able to grab it like this and just bend it down. It doesn't actually bend, it actually rotates this. This is just really hard to rotate. So this way I avoided like marring up this too bad. I tried to do it with pliers at first, it wasn't happening. So I just put a socket on here. Make sure when you put the socket on over here, it's not like right at the edge. You want it like as close to this pipe as possible, and make sure you just bend it straight. But there, that's how I got my 90-degree bend for this ARB line for the manifold. So FYI. Next we're gonna come look at this beauty right here, this ARB twin. So I'm gonna try to use my existing switch panel, so my aux beam, to switch on the compressor. There's some like weird safety things with the ARB, original ARB switches, right? So basically, the reason for that is when you're wheeling, you kind of want to be cognizant of when you're using your front lockers, right? So essentially that switch has like it makes sure that the back locker is engaged before the front locker. It kind of works like the OEM locker switch, right? I'm going to circumvent that. But I have to be more cognizant when my front locker is actually on. I think, you know, you can pretty much feel it, in my opinion. If you can't, then I guess I'll find out. But sometimes maybe I just want the front locker, you know? But anyway, I digress. There's a safety feature of that, so I have to kind of like work out what actually powers the solenoids for my lockers, which, by the way, if you didn't know, if you didn't gather this by this information, I also have lockers. I don't have them installed. They're literally sitting in the house right now. I'm waiting on gears and a reason, basically. I haven't had a reason to install lockers yet, but yeah, so that's what's going on there. So anyway, I digress. That'll be for another video. But so the way we want to install this hose, I'm actually going to take this out for right now. And I believe I have this orientation of this nipple in the exact wrong direction. Yes, I do. I have it in the exact wrong orientation. So I gotta fix that. And then I will be back. So we're set up here. Basically just followed the instructions entirely. I had to change some things up. I decided to keep the filters up so I can clean the filters out because it gets pretty dusty here. And then I have this manifold set up. I've got my locker solenoids, and essentially the whole thing is gonna sit in here exactly like this. And then, please excuse my neighbors. And then I'm still gonna need a fitting for here to actually fill up my tires. I want it to point up instead of that way. I would like it to point up. I'll show you what I mean when I get in here. But this is essentially the setup I have right here. Let me get it in place, and then I'll show you guys kind of how it puts together. So I'll film myself doing it, but I might not explain it because who knows, I don't even understand it. But this gets mounted first, and then the compressor gets mounted in. So I'm gonna set this kind of sort of right here, and then we're gonna try to mount this sucker like so. So luckily Slee has threaded these bolts. Nice little rivet inserts on the other side of these. I hope I was supposed to use the short ones here and not back there. Okay, so I have to switch out some bolts. So the bracket uses the shorter bolts, and I'm going to use these longer bolts in their place. Let me move this guy out of the way. Now, back to our original position. Alright, so we've got a little manifold mounted. I just need to tighten up the bolts. And then we're going to mount this, and hopefully I can still get to all these electrical connectors on the bottom. And these, I believe, just use these 4 bolts. Yeah. Okay. So cool. I'm going to point these over to this side, and we're going to kind of drop this sucker in here. It's a tight fit in there with the airbox. Let's see. I think I need to undo this for right now. There's no way that's going to fit like that. Yeah, we're going to have to fit it upside down. So all the wires have to stick out in the front. That's annoying. Alright, let me get this switched around. Okay, so got it flipped around here. Unfortunately, all these wires are going to be kind of on the exposed side, which sucks. I was hoping it to have it the other way, but it does not fit that way. So now we can bolt this sucker in. This is a very tight fit, but it does fit. Let's get one on this side now. There we go. The holes line up, so that's good. Let's get these tight. Pretty good. Figure something out with the wiring. But, so very important thing is to make sure that this braided hose doesn't contact anything rubber or plastic. So like any wiring or any of the locker lines that are going to be there in the future. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this right here, which is where it connects to the compressor side. If I can fit a wrench down in there, that would be great. And I'm just going to push that out of the way. Like, I would rather it lean up against my airbox, which is metal, than any of my future locker lines or these electrical connectors right here or anything else. And I think that's going to give us what we need in terms of clearance, hopefully for locker lines. I think this top one might be a little sus when it comes time, because so this is like straight on for this, so we might have to bend it away from here and maybe zip tie it off to the side when we do lockers. But pretty sure we should be good to go there. So I'm going to keep the top one, I'm going to say, is my front locker, and the bottom one is my rear locker. And hopefully I'll remember that. So I still have to do wiring, of course, but I think that will be relatively simple, hopefully. I have to do some testing on the switches, but I think we'll be okay there. So, looks like we're tight there and there. So this electrical connector, I'm gonna have to watch out for. I'll probably zip tie it somewhere out of the way, because these are not, they'll be plugged in. I just, we'll get there. We will get there, but we officially have all this stuff mounted. So now the only thing we got to do is get this coolant reservoir mounted correctly. So I'll be right back for that. So now we've got our bracket here. So this uses the factory ARB compressor hardware, and that sucker's just gonna go right here, just like this. There's that, and now we get this guy back in its rightful place, solidly mounted out of the way. So I think, so this is, I know we need the part for the battery now. Basically, this is the gist of the install, right? So the next thing we need to do is we need to drill a hole, like right here. So it says to remove this. Well, luckily for me, it is already removed. But we need to measure 4.5 inches from, I think, this bolt, and drill a hole for the battery tie down, which we don't have right now. It's not a battery, but I'm still going to drill the hole. And there's an M8 riv nut, which is right here. So this guy gets placed in here, and then I'm going to use my riv nut tool to help crush this down like it needs to be, and we're going to be set up and ready for a battery. So I need to find painter's tape, set of drill bits, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to mark 4.5 inches away from this bolt. We're going to see if I can read a tape measure or not. I'm going to go from here, and we'll do 4.5, more or less right there, right? I'm gonna freehand that sucker. Boom. Check our math. Pretty much exactly 4.5 inches from that bolt. And that apparently is where we want to put our riv nut. I'm going to mark this little hole right here so I can compare it to my picture. But, yep, pretty much right next to that hole. I am pretty much going to eyeball the middle. I think that looks pretty good. We're going to make a punch right here. Good enough. And then we're going to drill that out with probably too large of a drill bit to start off with, but it also has like a little centering thing. Let me just make sure this drill bit isn't too big. No, I don't think it's going to be too big at all. Probably going to be too small. So let's drill this sucker. I hate drilling things. Did you guys know that? It's like my most hated task. Okay, that's the start of our hole. I think I'm gonna have to use my Christmas tree bit to get anywhere near as close. And I'm probably gonna spare you guys that process because this is not, I need a new Christmas tree bit. This thing is very dull. So basically I'm just gonna use this to widen out the hole. It's going to get very noisy, so I'm going to spare you guys this, and I'll be back when the hole's big enough. Okay, wasn't too bad. Got our hole drilled. It's ready for the M8 riv nut, so now I just got to get my riv nut tool and crush this appropriately, and I think we should be pretty good for getting a battery in here eventually, one day. So let me get my riv nut tool, and we'll clamp that. Riv nut tool. Probably one of the best investments I've ever made. Truthfully, it has paid off time and time again for custom bolts, basically, or nuts, rather. So pretty much for riv nuts, as long as you can't pull it back out, you should be good to go. You don't want to overdo it, because what happens then is you could strip the threads right out. So these are not like, I forget what these are made of, but they're not like incredibly strong, but they're pretty good. So now I can show you what that's for. And that would be for this guy. Boop. This literally, this little battery tie down hold right here. And then your nut just goes in here. And then your new Group 34 size battery would go right there. So I think this does have a hook as well. I don't know if it's going to stay if I put the hook in. We're going to find out right now, though. So here, this is going to go right here. A little tie down hook is going to go like that. So ideally, your battery goes underneath here, and then SLE actually gives you a little foam piece in case there's any gaps in your specific Group 34 battery. Good old SLE. Oh man, I really wish these were 12s, and they're not. They are 13s, I think. That is kind of annoying. Yes, that is a 13. That's unfortunate, but it's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten this against the actual bracket itself for the air compressor, and then this side I will tighten down just so I don't lose that bar. And maybe I can use it as like a tie down point for various fluids or whatever, but that way this doesn't go anywhere and I don't lose anything, because I have a tendency to do that, let me tell you. So now what we got to do next is we got to figure out wiring for the compressor, and that's pretty much it. So like I said, I'm going to use my little box over here for switching the compressor on and actuating the locker solenoids, right? But I need to kind of dissect the wiring harness a little bit. I might have to extend it so it fits over to my starting battery here, because I don't have a battery here yet. And then I have to run the switch wiring all the way over there. So a lot of stuff to do. I'm gonna wrap it up for the day, and then I'll be back tomorrow, which will be pretty much instantly for you. Okay guys, it's the morning, and I did a little bit of thinking last night, and I figured out a very simple way to wire this up to my switch panel. I wanted to go over that with you. So I did a couple things last night. So I ran the main compressor wiring, and I cleaned it up as best I could, but you can kind of see here is the connector, and then this runs behind underneath the battery tray. You can see I zip tied it like right here, a little bit lazy, but I think it'll be fine. And here, and then we've got our main one here, and then we've got grounds over here. So I need to do these connectors. I'm gonna basically crimp them together and attach it right here. I'm gonna put some corrugated tubing on these 3 wires, and we're just gonna run this basically to right here, just like all of them. So with the aux beam switch panel, essentially the only thing I need is this harness. So I don't need the interior harness at all. So these 2 go to your locker solenoids, which are over there. And then here is basically the power ground for all of them. So black is going to be common ground for all of them. So black is common ground. Purple right here is the compressor activation switch. And then yellow and green, respectively, are for your locker solenoids power. So these 3 are power. This one is a common ground. The only thing I'm not sure is if the switch panel itself, if all the grounds are common. And what I mean by that is, since we only have 1 ground wire to activate all of these power switches, since we only have 1 ground wire to activate all of these power switches, basically I don't know if each circuit has its own individual ground or if the grounds are shared between all of the circuits. If they're shared, great. All we need to do is hook this up to 1 of the grounds. If they're not, I think what we'll do is we'll probably cut this off and then place it on the main battery ground for the switch panel over there. I think they're shared ground, but I don't know off the top of my head. So we're gonna figure it out. So most of my time is gonna be spent routing this. What I'm gonna do is I've already got part of the harness over here kind of hidden. I'm going to run this harness down underneath the air compressor over on this side, underneath the air box under here, underneath the cruise control module, and then we're going to come up on the side here, and we're going to follow probably this washer fluid line all the way over to the other side over there. And it's looks relatively clean, so I'm not going to put it through corrugated tubing or anything. I think this will be fine the way it is. I'm just going to run it behind everything so it's not as obvious. I did a little bit of wiring cleanup over here. I cleaned up this, make it look a little bit more presentable. It's not perfect, but good enough for me. And then I also cleaned up my radio wiring that runs all the way back here for my Yaesu ham radio. I've already got the cover off. So basically, I'm going to run this routing and then kind of get back to you and show you the final setup. And then, of course, we're going to crimp these terminals. And I have to remember which switches do what, because I already have the icon set up on the switch panel. But I need to remember which circuit correlates to the switch panel. That's one thing I wish that Auxbeam did. And Auxbeam, if you're listening to this, which you're probably not, if you can make like a diagram or something inside of the 8-gang to see which one goes to which one, or at least mark them by like number or something, right? But anyway, let's get to work. Alright guys, so we got everything wired up. Lockers, solenoids are wired up, ran across the back, just like I said. Got them hooked up to the switch panel. I've got power and ground to the main compressor, so should be ready to start. So the only other thing I need is I need a fitting for, so I didn't get like the ARB like tire inflator kit because I just haven't gotten around to it. Plus I have a perfectly fine air hose and couplers as well. So what I'm going to do for this guy right here, so I see this is open. I'll just turn the compressor on to test it. You should be able to hear air coming out of here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make get a right angle fitting so that this is pointing upwards, because with the ARB kit it's just going to face this way, which I think would be annoying to try to get a hose like here in here, so I'd rather just have it pointing up. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can find some like low profile ones at like Lowe's or Home Depot, somewhere locally. That way I don't have this huge thing sticking up like way above the hood and then the hood hits it and stuff like that. So I'm going to search for those. Not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna test it. But I'll let you guys know if everything works, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I won't test it without you guys. We're gonna just set this to the on position just to turn my switch panel on, and you should hear this come on. It does work. Good news. Let's see, locker maybe? I heard the solenoid come on, and I heard that solenoid come on. So, we're done. We're in good shape. That's awesome. So, we now have onboard air for the Land Cruiser. But, like I said, before I end the video, I'm going to see if I can come up with some amalgamation of fittings so I can have like an air chuck so we can actually fill up tires. So yeah, let me go do that, and then I'll update you guys on what I find. I have returned, and I bought things. So, got an air hose that's going to stay with the vehicle, and check this setup out. So I ended up getting a swivel. This is a 360-degree swivel for the reservoir, which means I can tuck it out of the way, or I can have it up here serviceable, actionable. So I ended up getting a new hose that is going to stay probably right here for right now. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want it rattling around too much. So just went with universal for my air tools, since all my air tools are universal. But we've got this guy. It's going to go in here. Connects to that, right? And then we've got my hose, which will connect to my favorite air tool, air chuck, which is a universal mount. This is hard to do this with no hands, so give me a second. But this will connect pretty much like this. Boom. And we're good to go. So now what I want to do is turn this on and make sure that it actually works and doesn't leak all over the place. Taped everything up, so we should be good. But, you know, you always like to test things. So, let's start her up. Right here. Get the compressor going. There's a good sign. We've stopped. And now let's hook up again. Okay, so this universal tool seems to be leaking, which that sucks. It might just be my fitting too, though. Let me try another one. Try another tool. So this tool really rarely gets used. So I'll know if it's the garbage fitting or not. Okay, so definitely my fitting. So I'll be stealing the fitting off of this thing and using it for my air chuck now. But we got onboard air. That is a killer feeling because I've been wanting onboard air for this thing for a very long time, since I bought it actually. And then I don't know about storing this thing over here. I'll show you guys. Hold on. Woo. Releases some air. So, one sec, sorry. This is what I was thinking about hose storage, but I really don't want this like loose, and more importantly, I don't want this falling into this mess over here. So if I do it this way, I might put this like in a bag or something where I can secure it against the side with some bungees or something. I don't know. But that's awesome. I love this setup. All right, that was totally the problem with my air chuck. It's just old and used. Like, dude, that thing is probably like 6 years old, getting used almost every day when I was at the dealership. But we've got onboard air now, which is awesome. So I'll probably end up storing the hose like in the back in the cargo area, because I don't know how I feel about that just being loose. Unless I figure out a good solution to like retain it there. But let me turn this off. We can do an outro. That is going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you very much for watching my video. Please share the video, like the video, leave me comments. I always read your comments, and check out the link in the description below for some